Good morning. My name is Blanca Arteche. I work for the EUIPO office since more than 15 years, and lately I've been working for the EU Observatory on infringements of IP rights, and I'm responsible for the enforcement tools, which is what I will explain to you today. Well, the first question we have to answer is why EUPO has enforcement tools and what we do in this area. As you know, the office was created in its earlier days on the basis of the regulation to register community trademarks, but since 2012 we have a new regulation, and then of course designs. Since 2012 we have this new regulation which entrusts to the European Observatory a number of tasks, amongst which these set up mechanisms to improve online exchange. The idea is that the observatory that was then entrusted in June 2012 to the office with the creation of our department has a task in terms of facilitating the enforcement activity, not only for trademarks and designs, but also for any other IP rights. We don't have any kind of operational powers or registration powers as we do have for trademarks or designs, but we help in the arena of IPR enforcement. And in this sense, we do have a number of activities, awareness or training, but also the creation of these tools. So this is why we're talking about the tools. We have three enforcement tools. We have the enforcement database, which we call EDB, ACIST, which is a statistical tool, and ACRIS, which is a new tool that we have launched this summer, and collects testimonies about infringements outside of the European Union. Now I would like to talk about the enforcement database. The enforcement database is a platform, is a database, which has been developed to help enforcers in the fight against counterfeit. The idea there was to collect in one single information point all of the information that the right holders normally distribute amongst enforcers. They do trainings with customs officials, they do training with police forces in one country, in the other, and at the end of the day, they expected to have one single area where they could put all the information and could be updated and available 24 hours times 7. And this is what we have in the enforcement database. But the enforcement database is not only a platform with this static information, it can also be used for communication purposes. So the enforcers and the right holders can also communicate through the tool. The main advantage of the enforcement database is that it is based on TMView and DesignView. As you probably all know, TMView and DesignView are the two platforms where the registers of the different EU countries have been are updated on a regular basis every night, and these rights are available there. And in this sense, EDB has fresh information on the status of the different trademarks and designs, which is very handy for the enforcers and is very useful in this context. It is a database that is free of charge. It's multilingual. Any information can be put by the right holders in their own language, and it is then found by the enforcers and read in any other language of the EU. This is because we use drop-down menus, and it is a very secure database. This is one of the main characteristics of our database. We will explain you a bit further later on. By discussing about what to do and how to do this enforcement database, this was a cooperation fund project initially. We created some kind of a group of different parties deciding on what kind of information would be useful to be shared. So we had persons from the European Commission, we had enforcers, we had Europol, we had right holders through their associations, discussing on what kind of information should be shared in that kind of tool and what are the different fields and how the tool should be working. And this is the recipe that was discussed, and that's what, on the basis of which the enforcement database was created. So in the end, the observatory only worked as a facilitator, and the office worked as a facilitator in this tool. We are not users of the tool. We create this tool for the others. Now, we were discussing before that the enforcement database is a secure tool. We don't really say that just as a word. Security is really, for us, a main characteristic of the tool and is a main element that we really want to keep the information safe. It is a very sensitive information that right holders put in the tool. They explain how to recognize their original products from the counterfeit, and this is nothing you want to have on the web anywhere. So we really did a lot of effort to keep security in the tool. One of the elements of the security in EDB is the way the information is managed, the way the database is managed. We undergo a security audit, a regular security audit, which is called SOC 2. And in this sense, we fulfill a number of activities under the same security standards that banks do. So we should think that with this we have standards of highest security. On the other hand, this is the way the information should be uploaded, the way the information should be kept separate, that one right holder has access to some information, but his own information, but the other right holder doesn't see it. But enforcers have the access to the full of the database. So it was very, very important for us that they have a secure access and that this is not broken. And this we solved by using a network from enforcers, a point-to-point network, secure network that is used for customs. It's a network created by the European Commission, and it's a point-to-point network that is really secure. It is very important for us that it is the own administrations of the enforcers that are the ones that manage the access to the tool. So if somebody goes in maternity, then the access is closed for a while. If somebody retires, then the access is closed, because it is the people, the authority themselves, that know who is working on the tool, who should be accessing the tool at a certain moment. And this is done by the delegations in the different countries of this secure network. So this is very securely managed. That we have the security standards that we manage also in the way we manage the tool in the observatory. And the third element of security, which is also very important, is that the information, or the most important part of the information, the product information, is closed by default. It is the right holder who each time decides with which authority to share this kind of information. So you create a product, you put all the information there, and it is closed by default. It is only when you click with each authority that you can disclose this information with the enforcement authorities you think you are secure with. And this is the same way you would do it if you would do a training. You may train enforcers in one country but not in the other, mainly because you don't have problems there. Or you may train one authority but not the other because of one or the other reason. So this is the way we have done the tool, the same way to try and reflect the same behavior that the right holder would do when doing these kind of trainings. This is a look into EDB. Now we're going to have a number of slides on how the tool looks inside. Of course, I'm open to questions in the meantime. If they should pop up, I will try and integrate them inside. Afterwards, we will have some minutes for questions if you're interested. Anyway, I'm going to go through the tool now. Inside the EDB, you have this dashboard. With the dashboard, what you have is a full view of the main areas of the tool, but you have also some buttons on top of it. The most interesting element here in the dashboard is the access log. We're coming back to the security where we were discussing before. You, as a right holder, share the information with some authorities, but then you want to know if this was effective on the one side, and on the other hand, you want to ensure that it is only these authorities that have access to your information. And with the access log, you know who has been accessing this information. This also helps you to see also your colleagues that have been working on the tool, but also what kind of information is more interesting to which authority. This is one part of the dashboard that is really interesting. Of course, in the dashboard, you have the alerts, and down to the left, the suspicious case room. The alerts and suspicious cases is the communication possibility in EDB. So right holders can file alerts and send them to one enforcement authority with the help of some kind of a form. And these alerts can be seen by this enforcement authority. And here in the dashboard, you see all your alerts. The same way, an enforcement authority that have a number of goods in front of them where they don't really know if they want to detain them, or even if they have detained them and they would like to inform you, they could file a suspicious case that would then inform you, and you would see it there in the dashboard. All of this information flow is managed in such a way that it then sends emails to you, because of course you don't have the EDB open every day on your dashboard or on your PC. The way this is managed, the secure information is kept on the tool, but it sends you an email saying, please look at this suspicious case, please look at this alert in case of enforcement. So you have this view in there where you see all this information. Also, inside EDB, you have one part which is the company information. This is also, for the enforcers, one of the main parts. Why? Because one of the main uses of the EDB is to use EDB as a tool for finding contacts. So it's some kind of an agenda. Okay, I have some products here. What kind of product is that? Which is the company? Okay, maybe I find a contact in EDB that can speak my language and then can answer my questions in my language, which is very important if we think about the EDB in Europe, where the enforcers don't necessarily always speak English or call it any other language. So the company information, in particular, the contact points are very important, but also the IPRs. Of course, as we said before, the information in EDB is based on a number of data that is available through 3M View or Design View, but this information is also available for EDB, and it is very important and very relevant to know how the products that you are defining in EDB, that you want to protect, are protected by IPRs. So the first question an enforcement authority would do you have an IPR protecting this product? And it is very important that you have the fresh information there, updated regularly, very, very regularly, and this is the kind of information that they really look at very often. But then you have any other different information. You can have additional web pages where you have more information. Your selling strategy is also very relevant. Often, some companies do never sell on the internet. If you have a product sold on the internet, then you know it must be fake. Or you sell under those kind of circumstances, this kind of information. So this is all the information that is available for the enforcement openly. The product information that we will look at now in the next slide is an information that is on the pin safe for you, and it is only open when you have shared this with specific enforcers. But the company information is open because it is very important and very relevant for them to be able to address you and to have like somebody to call to. This is the product information. As you can see, you have general information. In the general information, you have all the information about the specific product, one photograph and a few index, how to find it. So you find some keywords, that kind of thing, which is very important for them to be able to search it. But then you can upload a number of images. This is very, very relevant when you want to show the differences between the originals and the fakes, and the tool provides you a very easy and way to do it, where the right ones, the originals, are framed in green and the fake in red. Well, it's obvious. That's the kind of information and the way we want to show the information on the tool in a very, very easy going way. You can also file some information about your genuine logistics. This is very important also for enforcers because it helps them with the context of their case, defining if this will be counterfeit or original. Very often it is less easy to find it or to distinguish it from the product itself, depending on the product. You can also file past cases where you know that a number of situations were held that can be repeated, that could help them. You can file also companies involved, where you know the right companies, the companies you work with. So if it is sent with DHL, it will be, in principle, my products, but if it's sent via another courier, it might not be my product, my originals. Again, you link the products with the IPRs. This is really the main advantage. Enforcers look at the information in some kind of a Google bar, and they do searches. And if they search by, let's say, razors, they would find all the razors that are on the tool. But then the most important part for them is to know if these razors, if they find their razor they have in front of them, if that razor with those photographs they have identified is properly protected. And the way the tool shows the information, it is very informative, and you can easily know, if you have linked the IPR behind it, that this product is protected by this IPR on a click of a button, and it is very, very helpful for them. Of course, there are other information that you can attach in the portfolio. This is the last element I would like to show you within the tool. It is a very important feature that we have created last year and we're starting to use, and right holders are starting to use. It's the way to file electronic customs application for action. Now, anybody wanting a customs authority to help them in the fight against counterfeits, to detain fake goods, needs to file an application for action, otherwise they won't take action. Normally, there is a form on the web that you can use in a paper format, but the moment you have all your information in EDB, it costs you really 4 easy steps to file this application for action electronically, avoiding you to have to file in the information, but also the customs officials don't have to file it again. It is all handled electronically. And why does it cost only 4 steps? Because all the information that you really would put in this application for action is already in EDB. So the only thing you need to do, and here I'm going to use the mouse, yes, you have a first step where you would say in which countries you want the application for action to be submitted. It's submitted, and then in which ones you want it to be applicable. If we're talking about EU applications for action, if you want to file a national one, of course, it's only one EU country. Then you select the IPR rights that you will be using as a base to protect your products. So here you would select from the ones that you have already updated in the tool. It is, as you can see here, you have them there, you click them, and that's the next step. In the next step, the step 3, you would do a similar activity but selecting your products. Again, you would have the products filed here. You would select the ones that you're interested in protecting, normally all of them, but it's up to you. And then you would have a final step for validation. You would have your form here. It would be a number of pages that you would click up and down to see the information. If all was filed correctly, you can always click back, correct the information, edit the information, and once you click send, this information would be sent to the customs of the corresponding submission country. And then you would only have to print it and sign it because for the moment the real signature is necessary. So this is really a new feature that is very, very handy to send these documents for customs to help you in the fight against counterfeiting. Now, after all this information, it was a lot of information on the EDB. I think it is very important to trying to summarize why the tool would be helpful for right holders. Basically because the tool requires little effort, the same effort you would do to prepare one kind of a training for enforcers, but you would have it done once in the tool, and you could update it anytime without having to go back and controlling who has what information, without having the fear that the information is not up to date. Another very important element here in Europe is that you can file all the information in your own language. If you are a right holder, you work in Malta, you can have it, well, Malta is maybe not the best example. In Greece, you would have it in Greek in the tool. You could file all the information in your own language, but this does not necessarily mean that anybody reads Greek. So anybody would access the tool and read the information in English, French, German, any other EU language, without you having to translate anything. Of course, if you input annexes, the annexes are in your own language, but that's all. This is a very key element when you talk with enforcers. They want to have the information in their own language. And this is very interesting also when we are talking with representatives, because the language they use is not necessarily the language of their clients. So they can still put the information in their own language and show it to their clients about their profile in the language of the profile of the client. So it's, again, very handy for right holders and their representatives. It is a free tool. We don't charge anything for this because it is our role to facilitate this activity. We don't have access to the information, but we put the tool into play in the enforcement arena. And of course, there is always the advantage of the communication possibilities. So any right holder and enforcer can communicate through the tool in a secure manner, and it leaves also trace, which is also very useful. Why is this also relevant for enforcers? Now, I don't think we have enforcers listening to this presentation, but I think it is very important when right holders think about using the tool, how this information will be handy for enforcers, because then they will use the tool. So one of the main elements of the tool that we said is having the contacts. Enforcers don't necessarily know all your contacts in all your countries. It's very important for them. They need to have a telephone number. So this is one of the main areas of the tool where you need to put a lot of effort to have the contacts, the right telephone numbers, everything up to date. And it is used for that, definitely. The second element where enforcers find it interesting is when looking at the validity of IP rights. It is very important to know if an IP right filed in an AFA months ago is still valid. There can be a cancellation tomorrow. There can be any other action or an opposition in the meantime if it was, no, because normally it registers rights. But it can be a cancellation action and the right is not anymore valid. So in EDB, you have the rights that are refreshed and you have exactly on the moment if this right is still valid or not. And this is really very, very relevant for them. And of course, the communication activity is also very relevant for them, also because of the languages, because they can communicate in their own language and the right holder or its representative will see the information in the other's language. What else? Now, this is all about how to register in the tool. This is the landing page of EDB, where you have this information area, some news normally, and you have the way to sign in the tool. There you have a new user form where you can file your request for being an EDB user. The process is relatively simple. The only step that we need to do is to ensure that you are the right holder or somebody who is able to represent this right holder. And this we do with the exchange of a security code. So when you register for EDB, you need to define a right in a register, for example, a trademark or a design. You define one of these. With that, we have an address where we will send the security code. and the person that would send the security code back would be entrusted with the access to the tool. This is the way we ensure full security. This is fully conform with the SOC 2 audit, the security audit that we undergo. And with this, we ensure that it is not anybody accessing the tool and putting the information in, but somebody that is really in full contact with the right holder or has been entrusted by them. We also manage representatives. They can be named in two ways. Either the representative can request the access to the tool in the name of their right holder, and then the code is sent to the right holder and they send it back. Or any right holder that has already created a profile in the tool can assign a representative in the tool. Anybody, a representative that has already been created in the tool can be assigned. And any right representative can have different accounts under one password. Well, you enter the EDB, you have your different accounts, you select the one you want to work with, and then you go on accessing the tool the way we've seen it there. One last word about the EDB before I go on to speak about the other two tools, which I will be much quicker with, is the fact that we are very keen to create not only an electronic tool to help in the area of enforcement or in the fight against counterfeit, but we want to create a community around it. So to have not only the enforcers and the right holders talking through the tool, but also talking in a personalized way. And for this, we created the EDB Forum. We have already had 2 editions, the last one in summer this year. And it's an occasion where the right holders are free to come and meet the enforcers EU-wide. We invite enforcers from customs and police forces from all EU member states to Alicante for 1.5 days. And there in the conference, right holders can explain about their problems, enforcers can explain about their needs, and then there is any big opportunity of networking. But on top of that, we, during the whole year, try to manage this community. We give personalized training to any user of the tool, on demand. On a regular basis, we do some trainings, and on demand, we can access the tool with you, help you with filing the applications for action, help you with anything. So we help with the preparation of the applications for action, which is a key element of the tool. And we follow up any actions with enforcers. If there should be a problem on a specific case, we try and follow up with our contacts. So this is all about the idea that we really want to create a community behind the tool, that the tool is not only a communication tool electronically, but also there are people behind that these people need to meet and try to follow the tool. Also, we have steering groups that help us define the next needs of the tool. We have a customs steering group, we have a police steering group, since now we have the first police forces accessing the tool, and we have a right holder steering group that define the needs of the tool in the coming years. Now, that was all about EDB. I think it was relatively complete, but if there's any questions, please help yourself afterwards. Now I will go on with few words on this new tool, ACRIS. ACRIS is also accessible from the EDB through another button. It is a complementary tool to EDB, also in the fight against counterfeit. But in this new tool, what we want is to collect testimonies about IPR infringements outside of the European Union. So there we're talking about experiences, information of what is going on in other EU countries. It is very important to share this information, and here the idea is about the sharing between the different parties. This tool was created with the request of DG Trade from the European Commission, and in discussions with them, we have defined the needs and with the right holders, the needs in terms of sharing information. And one of the needs from the European Commission was to have some information and some details on cases and what is going on in a specific country before they go and meet this country in what they call their IPR dialogues. So the tool should help them having fresh information on cases, problems encountered in one country before they go and meet this country. So this is one of the main elements of the tool. The right holders would like to put information in the tool about specific cases that they had on infringements outside of the EU, and they could share it on the one hand with the European Commission, few people from the European Commission, for them to be able to shape the dialogues, but also it is a tool for sharing information between right holders. So the information that is put by one right holder on the tool in an anonymized way and very, very secure way, the same way that we had in EDB security as a main word here in ACRIS, it is also very, very important. This information is anonymized, but is shared in an anonymized way with other IPR holders, because this is a very important intelligence sharing tool. If you would go to, let's say, China to invest there, you want to know if there were problems there, where were the problems, what kind of problems, what were the actions taken to solve these problems. And this is what you can share within a tool such as ACRIS. In an anonymized way. It's the same way as you would do with a telephone call. You would call a colleague, say, okay, did you invest in China? What problems did you have? Do you think I should do that? But this in a completely anonymized way with a basis of many more right holders sharing this information. And it's also very interesting to have this information for on the IPR landscape in one or the other countries for organization of right holders. In some cases, when you go to China in particular, but in other European countries, non-European countries, these right holders are organized when they have problems through associations that help them there. And this information they would like to share amongst the one to the other. And in an anonymized way, this is possible through ACRIS. So, if the information is put in the tool, what do I get from that? Well, what you get is some statistics. You can have statistics on your own company, so you can know, share the different cases from one company to the other. Should you have different groups in different countries, you could have the information shared through the tool where only the company participants would see the information there. Or you can have statistics by other companies in an anonymized way, and you would see from country to country. So through all the tool, you have a way to search statistics. You could search them by country, you could search them type of IPR infringed, by time evolution, etc. And you could see this same kind of information from your own company or in an anonymized way from other companies. And also this is the way of searching information on a specific case in the tool. Okay, this is, for example, one of the reports. You would see the infringement by location by country, okay, for example. And this is one of the reports that we have. This would be another way of seeing the same kind of information, the infringement that you have by country. Again, this is available from your own company or for the other companies. Now I'm going to move few words with the last tool from the enforcement tools, and I will come back to, there are a number of questions there, but I think they are, or some of them are back to EDB, so I think I'm going to shoot the first two slides here and then come back to the earlier information. So the last tool I want to share with you is the statistical tool, the ACIST tool, and I have only 2 slides on that. Basically, the tool is another information tool. ACIST has statistics on IPR infringement, of detentions of products in the European community, in the EU, the European Union. We collect information from detentions at the border, but also from detentions in the internal market. So we have different sources, and one of the advantages of the tool is that we have found a harmonized format, and we harmonize the data so that it is comparable to a certain degree between different countries, between different authorities, and it's shown in an overall format that is useful for analyzing and for understanding what is going on, and this is the main objective of the tool. On that basis, we also generate reports. Similarly to the ACRIS reports, we have reports on the evolution of times, on detentions by member states, by category of goods, or by IPRs. So this is again a way of showing what is going on in the European Union, the activity of the enforcement in detaining goods. This is also very important for them to show their activity and their efforts against counterfeit. Now, I've closed all this part. I see that there are a number of questions. I will try and read them and see what I can answer to that. So thank you for your attention. Okay, I'm going to read the first question. Is there a possibility for the representative to enter all the information into the EDB instead of the right holder himself, or is the tool not meant to be used like this? Yes, it is meant to be used like this. I always talk about right holders, but right holder, from our sense, it is the right holder himself or his representative. Any of the both can access the tool. We have all kinds of constellations. We have cases where it is the representative himself who enters the tool and all the information, and the right holder doesn't have any access to it, or both have access to the tool and it is the representative who fills in the information. This is absolutely possible. The only thing that we need is that the representative is named by the right holder, and this we ensure by this exchange of codes. The moment we send the security code to the address of the right holder and the representative sends us this code back, we are sure that they are in contact and they have been named for this purpose. So this can be done for sure. But if there's any further question to that, we can also handle that with this email address, observatory.edb@eupo.eu. Second question, in minute 25 was said with respect to the registration process that one way of involving a representative is to indicate the representative and then the code is sent to the representative. Does this mean that the physical letter with the code is not sent to the IP right holder but to its representative? No. Maybe I was saying it wrongly, I was not clear. The code is always only sent to the right holder, to the address that is stated on the register. And this is the only reason why we request an IPR to be named when requesting the access to EDB. It is not this IPR which will be based on, used in EDB for basing the protection in EDB. It is only for us to have that address where we will send the code, and we send it only to the owner of the IPR, of that IPR. Afterwards, you can insert in the tool any other RPR, any other right that you're interested in using for protecting your tool. So with that, I think I've answered all the questions. Maybe just 1 minute more. I will summarize the information. In any case, as said, we have this mailbox there where you can send any other request, any other query that you may have over the time, not only today, and we will be answering it. So to sum up, we have 3 tools in the observatory and for enforcement purposes. Here in the observatory, in EUIPO, we only act as a facilitator. We have no powers, no operating powers in our enforcement, but we have been named by the EU regulation to act as a facilitator in enforcement, and we have specifically been entrusted the activity of creating tools to exchange information on counterfeit and help in the fight against counterfeit and piracy, and this is what we do. And we have these 3 tools, the enforcement database, which helps in the fight against counterfeit in the way that it helps identifying the differences between counterfeit products and original products. All the information that is in EDB helps, inserted by the right holder or his representative, would help enforcers in understanding if the case is a case where the goods are fake or are originals, but the tool also helps in the communication between the parties, and there is a full EDB community behind where we help as facilitators in this fight against counterfeits, where we try to make the right holders and their representatives meet with the enforcers, and we are very helpful in this, and we really are very proactive in this activity. We have this new ACRIS tool that can be accessed through the EDB, where we look at the activity of infringement outside of the EU. And this is also very relevant because very often the origin of the fakes is outside of the EU, and that's where you have the infringement activity, where you go to court. And all of these cases are inserted in the ACRIS tool, and the idea there is to share this intelligence and to use that as a basis for better policies if we're talking about the policymakers, and to decide upon their activities in one or the other countries if we're talking about right holders, and to share information in an anonymized way, for sure, between right holders and associations of them if we're talking about one country. And finally, the ACIST tool is a statistical tool where we try to collect information on all the activity that has been done in detaining counterfeit products within the EU. And here we try to collect all the details of all the cases where goods have been detained in all of the customs borders, but also all the activity of detention by police forces within the inland or by customs, because some customs in the European Union do work there. The collection of data in ACIST is not completely full, it's not completely complete. There are some countries where we still are asking for information from police forces, and we hope that we will be getting more and more information and completing the collection in the coming months and years. Thank you for your time. I think I have covered all the information here and all the questions. Thank you for listening to this information, and I hope to have more questions and any kind of queries to our mailbox there. Thank you.